Today, I'm going to tell you everything about Ethereum, everything you need to know to understand how it works. So let's start with the first topic, which is decentralization. Now, to understand decentralization, you have to understand centralization. So anytime that you have one entity that is controlling an entire type of transactions, that's called centralization. So for example, if you talk to your friends over Facebook is acting as the central entity, right? Everybody sends their messages first to Facebook, and then Facebook is sending it forward onto the recipient, right? So you have a middleman. Now, pretty much everything in the world works like that. There's very few things that happen directly from person to person, right? So for example, bear with me here. There's a very common site on the internet called Kickstarter, where if you invest, like let's say they want to start a project. So they say, we have a goal of $100,000. And if we hit this goal, then the funds get released to them and they can start their project. If they don't hit their goal of $100,000, all the money goes back to the people who invested it because the project didn't reach its target and it's not going to continue. Who actually gets to decide whether the money actually goes back to the people or they start the project anyway? They wouldn't do it, but Kickstarter actually has the power to make that decision, and Kickstarter is the entity that people are trusting to make that decision. Now, for many things, this is fine. There's many security reasons why you want to have someone who's in charge of certain things. Like, for example, if you buy a house, you need to register that you're the new owner with the local government. And in this case, probably it's a good idea that there's one entity in charge of managing all of that, right? But in many cases, it would actually be more convenient and cheaper for people if there was no middleman. And that's what Ethereum is, okay? Ethereum is the removal of the middleman to give everybody an even playing field, okay? So Ethereum is a network. It's not a coin. It's not some whatever. It's a network. And how do they make it decentralized? Well, they have computers scattered all over the world. There's like over tens of thousands, I hesitate to say millions, but maybe even hundreds of thousands of individual computers owned by different people, right? It's not one person doesn't own all of them. No. If you have, I think now it's 32 Ethereum, you can be part of the network too. Your computer can run on the network. And every single computer needs to run all together for this network to continue working well. That's what Ethereum is. That's how they are decentralized. Everybody needs to work together for this to function. Yet it's not possible for one person to control the outcome. So you guys need to now understand what smart contracts are. So like I said, this is a network, this is a framework, and on this network, you can create programs, you can create applications, you can write code. And based on the code that you input, the second you input it, it's unchangeable. Nobody has control over it besides the code. The code that you write is the law to the letter, no exceptions. That's what a smart contract is. So I type a code that says, everybody who invests here, let's say you have a bunch of people and they invest $20 each, and you have a smart contract for that, right? So then the people are giving their $20, the contract is accumulating these funds, and if the funds reach $100,000 by, I don't know, let's say January 1st, 2025, then the project is green-lighted, the funds move on to whoever owns the project, or the goal isn't met, and the funds get returned to the initial investors. That's how a smart contract works. There's no person in the middle anymore, right? The second you put that code out there, the second it's like on the network, that's it. It either executes or it doesn't, and then the stuff like goes back. That's it. There's no middle person. There's no Kickstarter. Ethereum isn't like watching over it and working on it. No, you're just using Ethereum as the background, right? You need water to swim. You need air to fly. But the air and the water aren't by themselves charging you anything, or they don't have power over whether you want to take flight or you want to land, or whether you want to swim or you want to drown. That's what a smart contract is. It's a code that is placed on the network to make sure that it is executed to the letter with no possibility of changing it, with no possibility for interference. So, you have a code, you have a smart contract that you want to put on the network because you have a certain deal that you would like to execute. Okay, what's stopping everybody from just submitting 1 million bits of code at the same time and then having the network be completely saturated and nothing running properly? That's where network fees and miner rewards come in. So every time that somebody were to submit a smart contract, there is a network fee associated with that, and that is to stop this network from getting saturated, right? So depending on the traffic in the network at the moment, depending on how expensive in general people are paying for their different network fees, right? Like, let's say there's not a lot of traffic, but people are paying a premium for their code to be run before other people's. Well, that will also increase network fees. Let's just say there's a lot of traffic, then because there's so many individual people there writing code and having it executed, well, because there's so many people buying it, the network is more saturated, and then individually you need to pay more in order to actually access the network at that point, right? So that's one way that the network traffic is maintained and controlled. And the other way, how do you incentivize these computers to all be working together for the network to function? You give them miner rewards, and both the network fees are in Ether, as well the miner rewards are in Ether. And this Ether is what you guys are familiar with when you look on the charts and you look for price of Ethereum versus US dollar. It's actually Ether, not Ethereum. That's what you're looking at. This is actually what is transacted. So how do you get miner rewards? Well, in order to explain that, what you need to know is that these computers are all working together and they're all adding onto some huge register of transactions that is happening, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things that have happened. And they're all like cross-referencing with each other to say like, hey, do you have the same list? Hey, do you have the same list? Hey, do you have the same list? And then they're deciding, okay, so everybody has the same list. This list is definitely correct. This is the one we're going to go with. And if one person is trying to be sneaky and they're like, hey, my list is a little bit different, well, everybody else disagrees with them. So they are just neglected. And that's how you avoid a malicious actor on the network, right? So how do you incentivize the miners then to actually be looking at these transactions? Well, you give them miner rewards. So every time, oh man, I missed the R here. Are you kidding me? Miner rewards, not R. Oh, there's something wrong with the R key. That explains a lot. Miner rewards. So you give them rewards every time that they are adding something to this list of transactions and it gets approved by everybody else. Now, you get miner rewards, and every time you add a block to the chain, I think currently you're getting 2 Ether, which at current valuations would be something like $3,500. Let me just go to the chart over here. Ether is now at a new all-time high. It hit it just today, right? We're going down a little bit, but we're rising up again. It's currently at 1720 US dollars. Okay, that's huge. So let me take a breath here. Oh my God, I'm starting to sweat. Okay, so I told you how the Ether is generated, right? Every time that the miners are adding onto the list of transactions, they're getting rewarded for it. And every time you would like to interact with a smart contract or run a smart contract, you have to pay a network fee to access the Ethereum network and run your smart contract on it. So you might be wondering now, okay, but if these guys are getting rewards every time a thing is added to it, doesn't that mean that an infinite amount of Ether will be printed? And if there's an infinite supply of them, doesn't that mean that my Ether are going to become worth less over time? And the answer is yes, absolutely. That is correct. However, the developers actually are actively monitoring Ethereum, and once in a while they make changes. For example, these miner rewards used to be 5 Ether, then they dropped them to 3 Ether, now they drop them to 2 Ether. So there is actually the developers are the central agent of the Ethereum network. So while they claim it is decentralized, and that is true in many aspects, What does remain untrue regarding decentralization is that the developers do have the power to make changes to the main running Ethereum network. Now, that's a whole topic in and of itself. What you have to know is that that can either be a major positive or a major weakness, right? Every time you have something that allows for any type of tampering, I say tampering very loosely, right? These are the guys who developed it. But any time that anybody can make changes to something, that adds an element of risk. But the benefit is that these guys are constantly monitoring Ethereum. They're saying, hey, we have this problem coming up. How do we come up with a new engineering solution to solve it? And very soon, they will be upgrading this to Ethereum 2.0. I'm going to make a video about that. That addresses almost all of the main disadvantages that Ethereum currently has. So guys, please stay tuned for that video. That one is going to take me a little while to make, but now you understand Ethereum. Now I'm going to be able to tell you how they're going to address all of the issues that might arise with this setup. Breathe. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.